The incident last week at Maponya Mall, where a young man was shot and killed, allegedly by taxi drivers, was just a glimpse into the challenges that e-hailing drivers face daily. For years, taxi associations and metered taxis have expressed their displeasure at e-hailing services such as Uber and Bolt. And e-hailing drivers are said to be bullied and harassed out of work opportunities. So let's get a sense how far this issue goes with the spokesperson for the National E-Hailers Federation of South Africa, Tella Masakale. Good morning. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and morning to your viewers.
Now, the Maponya Mall incident, Tella, has brought national attention to the tension between e-hailing drivers and taxi operators. So from your perspective as spokesperson for the National E-Hailing Federation, is this kind of violence something your members face regularly?
Unfortunately, yes. Firstly, our condolences go out to the family of the driver who lost his life. What happened at Maponya Mall is not an isolated case. It is a mirror of the ongoing crisis e-hailing operators face daily. Drivers are bullied and threatened, often by taxi operators, and each time it's treated as an isolated dispute instead of being acknowledged as part of a much deeper problem. E-hailing is part of the modern transport system, yet operators are forced to work under constant fear of their safety.
Now, Tella, what has your federation done to engage with major shopping center managements to develop sustainable solutions that would allow e-hailing operators to work safely while addressing the concerns of traditional taxi operators?
Well, we are calling for 3 urgent interventions. One being a designated safe zone, meaning where secure and monitored pickup and drop-off points, especially in hotspots like malls, stations, and town centers. The second one is law enforcement partnerships, whereby SAPS and Metropolis must prioritize e-hailing related crimes and treat them with the same urgency.
Now, given that there were an estimated 4,000 Uber cars in Cape Town in 2018, and the e-hailing industry has grown significantly since then, have these violent incidents increased proportionally with the growth of your sector? All right, it seems that we have lost Tella. However, we will see if we can try and get him back on the line. Tella Masakale is the spokesperson for the National E-Hailers Federation of South Africa. All right, let's move on to this now. SNF has condemned the deliberate targeting and killing of journalists in Gaza, labeling it a violation of press freedom and international law, and demands that the attacks come to an end. The organization's deputy chairperson, Chamano Makadi, says world leaders are turning a blind eye and called for accountability. 5 journalists were killed last week in an Israeli airstrike in the Palestinian territory. According to the International Federation of Journalists, more than 270 journalists and media workers have been killed since the beginning of the conflict.
Our colleagues, globally, they have been speaking. And I think it also, takes now concerted effort. And I'm talking about political leaders globally who have to, stand up and say, this really has to come to an end. It has to stop. You cannot, we cannot continue to see a situation where human life is undermined in the manner in which we have seen in Gaza.
All right, we've gotten Tella Masakale back on the line, who is the spokesperson for the National E-Hailers Federation. Speaking to him in light of the recent unfortunate tragedy that happened at Maponya Mall with one e-hailer losing his life. And we're looking at the challenges that are faced by e-hailers. So, Tella, I was asking, what specific areas or locations have your members identified as particularly dangerous or no-go zones for e-hailing operations?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with the recent Gauteng station in Braamfontein, for example. Drivers are hijacked, robbed, and in some cases killed while waiting for passengers. And then also there's Maponya Mall, the recent Maponya Mall incident. So essentially, mainly malls, stations, and near taxi ranks.
Now, given that there were an estimated 4,000 Uber cars in Cape Town in 2018, and the e-hailing industry has grown significantly since then, have these violent incidents increased proportionally with the growth of your sector?
Indeed, indeed, indeed. You must remember that the government has been moving at a slow pace to issuing operating licenses. So there's a bunch of operators that are not compliant, and some of them we don't know whether they are actually supposed to be in the country or not. So there's a lot of criminal elements within the space as well with this lack of compliance.
What specific...
And let me get the record clear that our members do want to be compliant.
All right. What specific policy interventions or regulatory frameworks do you believe government should implement to address the root causes of these tensions between e-hailing and traditional taxi operators?
Well, for starters, we've been calling on for a transport response unit under the SAPS, dealing specifically with e-hailing and taxi violence related crimes. And secondly, is for the Competitions Commission to start implementing a fair pricing system so that they cannot be this Wild West barbaric tendencies by operators trying to simply small piece of the pie. There is enough room for every operator to operate in South Africa. So we do need the Department of Transport to come to the table in implementing the legislature.
Well, MEC Tlhabela is now demanding formalization of e-hailing leadership structures so they can speak with the right people. Do you have proper structures that represent e-hailing in South Africa?
Yes, yes, we do. Yes, we do. As the National E-Hailing Federation of South Africa, we are the recognized independent body that represents at the moment 7 provinces in South Africa, from Western Cape to Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Northwest, Limpopo, and Free State. So now we are still busy with Gauteng. We have Gauteng, however, we have Gauteng, you know, it's quite fragmented. So we have quite a few. We have Tshwane, we have Ekurhuleni, and Joburg South. So we're still busy trying to see how we can navigate through the different splinter cells in the Gauteng region.
Now, these attacks...
But however, NEFSA is the national body that we are actually engaging with the National Department of Transport to actually be formally recognized as the apex body of the e-hailing industry.
Now, these attacks are quite brazen, to say the least. And would you say that we're looking at economic terrorism here, where organized groups are systematically destroying livelihoods through violence and intimidation to eliminate competition?
Indeed, indeed, that is the case. That is the case. Hence, we are calling on the law enforcement to act in a manner that is urgent because it is literally a barbaric Wild West climate out here. So we really need to have the law enforcement formulate a e-hailing response unit under SAPS so that we can at least mitigate the violence.
And Tella, your drivers are telling their families goodbye each morning, not knowing if they'll return home alive. How is this acceptable in a constitutional democracy? And why has government allowed this industrial warfare to continue unchecked?
We're not to the public. We ask for understanding and support. Every time you get into an e-hailing vehicle, remember that the driver is putting themselves at risk to provide a service. Stand with us in calling for safer working conditions. To government, we are saying, stop treating these incidences as isolated. We need structured intervention, regulation that protects drivers and partnerships that create safety for everyone on the road. E-hailing is here to stay. Yeah. Let's work together to make it safe, sustainable, and fair for all.
Let's expand on that a bit. What specific policy interventions or regulatory frameworks do you believe government should implement to address the root causes of these tensions between the e-hailing and traditional taxi operators?
Well, if you are aware, the NLTA amended bill has been signed by the president, I believe, last year. So we are just waiting for that to be implemented. That is the challenge we are facing at the moment, is the implementation of that amended bill, the NLTA Act. So now it's an issue of it's free for all, because for as long as that is not implemented, these multinational app companies will eventually exploit operators and drivers, charging whatever fare that they would like to charge, now putting drivers at a situation whereby they'll be desperate to take any trip, even taking them to no-go zones, which is why it starts with the regulation. Is the law enforcement, because on a daily basis, drivers are being killed, passengers are being killed. We need to formulate a more strategic response, safety response program to deal with these matters.
All right. Before we let you go, Tella, and very briefly, if nothing changes and this violence continues to escalate, what is your federation planning to do? Are you considering legal action against government for failing to protect your members? Will you advise drivers to down tools until their safety can be guaranteed?
Yes, indeed. Both options are actually currently on plan. We're actually having discussions with our provincial affiliates regarding those issues, matters we just raised now. We actually are considering a national shutdown in the next 2 weeks, within a week or two. We're still currently finalizing the shutdown program. And then secondly, we are actually embarking on promote local apps, because the biggest challenge here is these are multinational app companies that are taking advantage of our hard-earned local income.
All right, Tella, thank you so much for your time. And I know that's certainly going to affect a lot of people, but we appreciate you coming to the program.